Here we have the general quadratic equation written in standard form. We're going to derive the formula for the roots of the quadratic equation by applying the principle of completing the square. Now, as you know, we can only apply the principle of completing the square to one lot of x squared, and here we have a lots of x squared. So our first task is to make the first term become just simply x squared, which we can do by dividing through by a. So this becomes x squared add b divided by a, x add c divided by a equals 0 divided by a is just 0. And now we complete the square of these two terms to get x add b divided by 2a all squared, take away b divided by 2a squared, add c divided by a equals 0. Now it's dustpan and brush time. We've got to tidy up this part of the equation. So we'll start with the b divided by 2a all squared. This is the square of a ratio, which is the ratio of squares. So we've got b squared divided by the square of a product, which is the product of the squares. And now pop everything back around it. X add b divided by 2a all squared, take away, add c divided by a equals 0. Now then, we have two fractions, and 4a squared is a common multiple of both denominators. So if I multiply this by 4a and that by 4a, I have an equivalent fraction. So this becomes 4ac divided by 4a squared. Popping everything else back, x add b divided by 2a all squared, take away b squared divided by 4a squared, add equals 0. The next thing we need to do is to remove these two terms from the left hand side of the equation, so we get x add b divided by 2a all squared equals, removing this term, which we do by adding b squared divided by 4a squared, and this term by subtracting 4ac divided by 4a squared. Now Mum says we've left something in the corner because we can tidy this even further. We have a common denominator, so the right hand side becomes b squared take away 4ac divided by 4a squared. That's x add b divided by 2a all squared equals that. And now all we need to do is take the square root of both sides to eliminate the square. So we have x add b divided by 2a equals the square root of all this, a ratio, and we know that the square root of a ratio is the ratio of their square roots, which is useful because the denominator is a perfect square. So we have the square root of b squared take away 4ac all divided by the square root of 4a squared is 2a. And now remove the addition of b divided by 2a on the left hand side by adding negative b divided by 2a, and we get x equals negative b divided by 2a. And don't forget that when you take the square root you have a positive or a negative answer, so this becomes add or subtract the square root of b squared take away 4ac all divided by 2a. Just make a little more room, and again we've got something left in the corner because we can simplify this even further and get x equals negative b add or subtract the square root of b squared take away 4ac all divided by 2a. And there we have it. the quadratic formula, the formula for finding the roots of the general quadratic equation, ax squared add bx add c equals 0.